Thanks for coming, guys. Again, my name is Dennis Baker. I'm the Life Raft Program Director. I will let them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Eddie Soto, writer-director.
Hi.
Thanks for coming, guys.
No claps for him. Hi, I'm Renee Massie. I'm the executive producer and casting director of the film.
I'm Chris Harris, and Eddie and I wrote the film together.
So as we all know, it takes a village to make a film, a tribe, as some say. So anybody in the audience that worked on the film you want to acknowledge?
Definitely. I want to give a shout out to Christian Moldez, who is our second AD / associate producer. Thank you for coming. Catherine Keithley, who was our casting associate as well. Anybody else? Any actors are here? Sheldon Kuhlman, who is a cool man. You hear that all the time. He was one of our actors, and I don't see any other actors, but anybody else who was in the movie, you could just raise your hand, I could introduce you.
That guy.
Is that Micah? Oh my God. Yeah. Micah Brandt, he was our locations, UPM, and all-around fixer for the film, and co-producer.
Nice.
Micah's the man.
You always need a fixer. So
He got things done.
a film always starts with story and script, so tell how your guys' story and script came to be.
Chris, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think we kicked around for a while. We had read an article about Jack White from the White Stripes. Probably like his, fourth, fifth marriage ended. And he was like, send out invitations to a divorce party, and we thought that was funny. And we had, I think Eddie and I both grew up watching kind of hangout, ensemble fun movies like Dazed and Confused, Can't Hardly Wait, Saint Almost Fire. Those are kind of a lot of movies that we grew up watching. And so as we started building the story, we referenced a lot of those movies. We referenced a lot of that feel of like, let's have some fun, but we can hit some emotional beats with characters, and that's where it jumped off from.
Yeah, you know, Chris is a huge music fan, and as am I. And he showed me this article years ago that, you know, Jack White and his then wife, they were breaking up, but they wanted to remain friends, and they were big partiers, and wanted to have a night where they kind of had a bon voyage with all their friends. And that's kind of how the story originated. We thought it was ripe for drama, and we kind of started building the characters within that dynamic.
And then talk about kind of how did that story become a script, how many drafts, how did co-writing work for you guys? Did you guys have a method?
Sure, so we, you know, we talked about the story for a long time before we started scripting. And when we were serious about scripting, we decided to be very goal-oriented. So when we actually made the conscious decision to put pen to paper, we said, you know what, in a month, let's get a first draft done. And then a month after that, let's get a polish done. And we were kind of very systematic about it. So I think it was April 2012 where we had our first draft done. And it was from March to April where we did our first draft, and then from April to June and July we were just doing polishes. And you know, as you know, when you're making a script, when you're making a film, it evolves, and the script changes when you get different casts in, and we were always conscious of that. So it was always like an evolving beast.
And then were you guys writing certain scenes individually, or how did you guys kind of break the duties?
Kind of writing during the day, and then Eddie would get off work and come right over to my house. I mean, literally every night for probably, 3 or 4 months. And, you know, he would read what I would write, and then we would go back and forth. And, I mean, I can't tell you how many just times we sat around and just like, okay, I'm going to take a character, you're going to take a character, and let's just talk. You know, let's talk like them. And, I mean, it came together really fast, but I think we also worked it a lot. And we worked a lot of the scenes, and we also had some great actors who improv incredibly, and that was something we talked about early, was like, let's get some great actors, let's have some fun, let them have fun with it, like, just give them, you know, give them something to have fun with. And
yeah, and
so
we went back and forth a lot, and you know, scenes got rewritten and written over and over and again. And yeah, as Chris said, we wanted to leave it open to improv a lot, and you know, we wanted to incorporate in our rehearsal process whatever like genius jokes that our actors would come up with. We wanted to incorporate into the screenplay and then take complete credit for it, and which we did.
Nice. And then when did you guys kind of know, okay, we got something that we can go into pre-production with and move forward?
We did a table read and just literally pulled friends and just kind of whoever was around and had a great night. Several bottles of wine and it was the first time you hear it. I think it's the first time you're like, all right, like this doesn't sound like horrible, horrible ancient people speaking. And so that was the first time we were like, all right, well, we can make this.
Nice.
Totally.
And then, so talk about that transition. Is that when Renee came in? When did you like, okay, we need to get producers and kind of get this ball rolling?
So yeah, I've known Renee for years, and we were always looking for a project to do together. And we, when we were serious about taking the next step from from writing to actually getting it produced, Renee's actually a non-scripted casting director. And we kind of went to her and asked her to see what she thought about the film. Renee, you want to take it over?
Yeah, no, I read the script and immediately I was in love with it because I love romantic comedies, and it had that independent feel that I've always wanted to get into. Having worked in reality television for so many years, it's very refreshing to get into the scripted world. I had done a few short films prior to this, but this was my first feature, so it was really exciting, and it was wonderful to work with Eddie.
Yeah, it was all of our first features.
Well, I remember the first conversation we had of like, is this going to happen? And we were like, how do we get people to show up to the party? And we were like, we can't make this. Like, we can't get people. And we were like, we can't get 30 people in a room to shoot. Like, what are we even doing?
We had a lot of Facebook event invites to show up to the party. Don't worry, we will provide you with booze.
And pizza, a lot
And
of
pizza, lots of
cheap pizza.
And then how did you build the team out from there? How did you find the other producers? How did you start getting people on board? Kind of what was your process through that?
Christian and I had made a couple of films together in the past, and we knew he was an integral part of making the movie. Micah, I met just through a posting online, and literally he was just our locations manager before, and he is so smart and so knowledgeable and has so many connections in terms of just on a nuts and bolts level of making films, and that he just kind of became a co-producer just organically, and was able to kind of get us the deals that really on our budget we were able to make the movie with.
Called in every favor.
Oh yeah, lots of favors.
We had a lot of beats on set. Grocery store deals.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely made the movie by hook or crook. It was very much a labor of love, a lot of favors that came in, and thankfully, they came through for us.
So then was it, when you got to the financing, did you finance your guys' self?
Yeah, friends and family.
Friends and family.
Exactly. That's what we did. I'm lucky enough to kind of have like a steady day job, so when money was coming in, it was going right back out to the film, and I, begged friends and family to kind of get this done, and we were able to make it on a relatively cheap budget.
Then once you kind of, pre-production was going on and it was time to casting, kind of talk about that process. Did you guys write with any people in mind? You said you had actors table read. Was that a transition into actually getting the role? Kind of what was the process?
I can't remember if I don't think really anybody from the table read. I mean, we had a lot of friends kind of pop up in smaller roles, but no, I mean, we kind of started from scratch as far as actors and...
We actually had a really amazing casting associate, Catherine, back there, who actually kind of started to get the ball rolling, and she brought in a lot of brilliant actors. And I was so tied up in America's Got Talent. I'm also a casting producer over there, that it was really nice to have that, already rolling. So when I came in, there were some amazing actors, and then of course we went on. Actors Access. We worked with this one place called Cast, and they provided a space as well as their own actors. A lot of it was just Actors Access, though. We were fortunate enough to get so many wonderful SAG people there, and it was really important for us to have this be a union film.
Totally, and Cast was really integral to getting this done because, as Renee said, they provided a space. They provided people to see as well, and once we kind of saw people audition, we like certain aspects of certain actors, and we kind of incorporated that into the screenplay. So definitely, after we started seeing a lot of people, we were like, okay, well, this guy can work for this role, and then maybe we can kind of play up to this kind of strength, and vice versa. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we did a lot of work with, I mean, we probably brought in every actor like 3 or 4 times. They were probably pretty sick of us at that point. But we did a lot of chemistry readings, and we switched everyone out multiple times. And, you know, at the end of the day, Ashlyn and Colin were just the best fit for each other as the lead. And Marika was actually a friend of mine from college, and she was just fell so naturally into this role. I mean, she was amazing, but...
Totally, yeah. For us, since this is such a movie about friendship and it's about this friend group, like it was really important that they felt like you felt organically like they were friends, you know, and so chemistry was super important to us. And that's why we did so many table reads and so many chemistry reads. So it's okay, well, do these people really feel like they could be friends? Do they feel like they can be lovers? Yeah. And, you know, once we passed that test, then we were like, okay, let's move forward with them.
Yeah, and that's really important with chemistry. It's not just about how you react to each other. It's like, can you look at these people at a party together and think they're a couple, or would you be like, man, she's way too hot for him? Like,
yeah. Also, like from a logistics standpoint, you know, when you make a movie like this and you have no money and you're spending 14, 15 hours a day with each other, like they have to kind of get along as humans, you know, and so that was really important. And so when we realized that, oh my God, our characters are really joking and having a good time off screen, then we knew that we were on the right track.
yeah, I mean, I think by the end of the set, you know, we had some really, really long days.
Yep.
And, you know, a lot of great breaks too, but those breaks were filled with friendship and love, and everyone got very close.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
And then once you got into production, did you have rehearsals? How many days did you shoot? Kind of what did that look like?
Well, you know, for Chris and I, we talked about this, and we're really focused on rehearsals. I think, like, you need to give yourself that rehearsal time, and that's how the movie kind of grows organically. And so we did a full week of rehearsals, and we did, like, 5 or 6 hour days rehearsals. We weren't really worried about getting it stale because there's so much new material coming out from that, you know, that really informed the picture that we made. And then we ultimately ended up shooting 12 days, which, you know, anyone who's made an indie film, that's ridiculous. And I will never make another movie in 12 days again. It's just not, it's not fun, it's not safe, you know. Sometimes you just have to do it by necessity, but whew, yeah.
And were you guys rewriting during that whole time, or was it locked once you guys shooting, or were you still
Yeah, I mean,
writing?
on set, I know, like, I would get a call from, like, Eddie needs to talk to you, and I mean, we'd have a huddle, and it would just, you know, I mean, a lot of it came from the actors. We had some great actors who were bringing some really fun stuff, like Zoran and Akeem. Marika was great about stuff like that, and you would see stuff in their performance, and you'd be like, you know, just go with it, just have fun, like, let's let them take it. And
Yeah,
so
basically everything Paige Kennedy said was
Paige was out of
himself.
control. Yeah,
He was crazy.
You know that
in a good
there's
way.
that old adage, like, directing is 90% casting, and it's so true. Like, if you surround yourself with a good team, then that kind of really, yeah, you run with it for sure.
So then kind of give us some behind the scenes, maybe some specific scenes of like, okay, you need to know that this happened to make that happen, or was it just with some stories to kind of enlighten us about that production process specific to your guys' journey?
Do you guys have any thoughts?
I just remember that scene where everybody was outside they were outside right before the party starts, and it's kind of the Friends Reunited scene, and it's something that Eddie and I had spent a long time on, and we shot
called
it.
that the outside living room scene.
Yeah, the outside living room scene, and I think we shot it at 6 o'clock at night, and literally every helicopter in Los Angeles was coming through, and every
Squirrels.
ice cream truck
Squirrels
in
chirp.
Silverlake was coming down the street, and it's just funny to see it all put together because it was. You know, it was so calm, and the idea was so calm and peaceful, and then the actual shooting itself was kind of chaotic, and then it comes back together in the editing, calm and peaceful, and you
True.
Never know.
Yeah, we had to bring everyone back in for ADR actually to redo that scene because you couldn't really hear much of anything, and that happened a few times throughout the film. LA is noisy.
Location.
Hold on, can I interject?
another one.
One scene that logistically was such a pain and was the kind of like the outside rave scene with Unicorn Suicide, the DJ. We ended up shooting that at 6 a.m. on like a Sunday night, and it was like a residential neighborhood, and so all the neighbors hated us, and we were just just like reaching and just trying to get as much footage as we possibly can.
But it was really fun because all the actors at that point had been on set for 12 hours or whatever.
They were
it was-
hallucinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, we were all ready to dance.
Yeah,
and-
all the extras were just like, they kind of stuck it out, thank God. But it was touch and go for a second.
And when we say 12 hours, everybody got their breaks. So
So of course, meal penalties.
Locations are always tough for indie films. Can you kind of talk about your locations and how, where'd you shoot? How did you get them? The process of nailing down those locations.
So yeah, so for us, and when we were conceptually designing the film, Micah and I, in a movie, you want to limit your company moves. Like you don't want to be moving around because that's just eating up your time, eating up your budget, etc. So how we designed it was and this is Micah's brilliant idea. We found a kind of a vacation home, like kind of like an Airbnb place that had that feel of like kind of a really homey, young Silverlake hipster house. And the property owners kind of were like, just let us do our thing there. We ended up booking both spots, which is like a front house and the back house, and that was our location and our production office and our catering tent, and it was like a one-stop shop. And anybody who is making an independent film, I seriously recommend finding locations that can serve multiple purposes, because that's where you're gonna save money and you're gonna be able to kind of have everyone congregate at, and it's really important.
Nice. So the kind of the last questions for those in the audience who are looking to maybe write their first feature. We'll start with writing and then producing and directing. What advice do you have for them?
Don't do it. Get away. I'm just kidding.
Well, my advice is the opposite.
really.
Because we kicked around this movie for like a year, and then it was at the point where we were just like, let's just write it. Like the hard part of writing is writing. It's sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, and it's hot, and you're just getting up to pee and going back to getting. It's not a fun process, but it is the essential part of starting the movie. And so I would say, do that. Whatever. We've written a lot of stuff over the years, but I think this is the first thing that we really made an attempt to see it through. And that started with sit at your computer all day. Eddie coming over every night. That was the beginning. And so I would say, don't be afraid of that, because that's what it is.
And when you guys are writing, I wasn't the writer of the film, but also keep in mind what you're writing for and what kind of money you're going to have prepared for your film. Financing is extremely important. So if you're writing a sci-fi film, make sure that you can back that up and not have some tacky high school wood.
That's not true, because we rode a Maserati, laughed about
Well,
it.
that's
and then
doable.
got a
This is LA.
Maserati for the movie, so
Maserati can be
dreams
realistic.
can come true.
Dreams can't come true. Exactly.
So then how about,
Want to believe.
let's start then producing. Recommendations for people who are first time producing a feature film. Renee, Eddie?
Yeah, kind of what Chris said. Like, you really just have to do it.
Financing is really, really important, whether you're doing it with friends and family or Kickstarter. Something that we ran into after working on the film, we didn't really set aside enough budget for after the film's been made. So once we started hitting up the festival circuit, we did CineQuest, we did Newport Beach Film Festival, we did Dance with Films, to name a few. And we didn't really have a budget set aside for flyering and promotion. And every film festival you go to, people have lollipops with their films written on them. And I don't know if you've ever been to a film festival, but they've got some pretty creative things. So you need to set aside some time to think of that creative thing to make your film go to the next level at a festival.
Totally. You have to think about all the expenses that are going to happen after the movie are done. Like, we were going to festivals and people were having, people had, what's it called? Publicity people that they were, they had a street team, and then they had flyers. They had these beautiful posters. They had, the cool little things. Like, I remember we went to a festival. It was Newport Beach, and this film, it was a little indie film. They had like these boxes of puzzles that when you put the puzzles together, it was their poster. And you're like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, and we really didn't even think about anything like that. And it's really important, because nowadays when you're making a film at this level, you have to think of the big picture, and you have to realize, like, what's going to get me through distribution? What's going to get me all the way to my end goal?
I think that's a great place to end. Let's give them a hand and say thanks. Thank you guys for coming out on the screen. Thank you guys for coming out as well. Please remember those surveys at the thing, and they'll be around to talk and say hi. So.
And thank you so much, SAG Foundation, for having us.
Thank you.